Okay. Hello everyone. Now we can start our today's session on different retrospective techniques. To let me quickly share my screen as well. Okay, I hope you all can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay. So before going to discuss on these different retrospective techniques, can you just anyone, what's your understanding of retrospective? Why we are doing retrospective? What are the benefits we will get? Or any experience which you have in the past in the retrospective, which could be positive or could be negative as well, whatever is it. Can anyone share any thoughts?
Yeah, Chetan. So it's like end of the sprint. We will discuss on like areas of improvement, like what can be done in a better way, or what can be what are the laggings, what new things we can adopt, or anything like didn't happen in a way that we have expected.
Okay.
So yeah, like that.
Any experience different kind of retrospectives which you tried till now?
No, I didn't try it actually. Never happened in my or
Okay. Anyone else? Any experience with retrospectives?
Yeah, so Chitin, for few months I was playing the role of Scrum Master
Mm-hmm.
with some percentage. So where we were, what we are doing, we were following the process. Like before sprint planning, we book 1 hour slot for the sprint retrospective, in which Master will represent like what are the achievements we have got, what was the commitment, what we have delivered, what was the story points that we have committed, and what was delivered, what was the burn down chart, and what are the like things that we have achieved, like if the DOD has met for each user story or not, that is done. Then we basically say like how many person were on the planned leave or unplanned leave. Based on that, we what we have delivered, what are the basic highlights we have in this sprint, that we basically represent. Afterwards, we basically create a ideas board in which we put like each member of the team will basically tell what was the good part in this sprint and what went didn't went well in this sprint, and we highlight that, and we out of those we will do the discussion like and what could be the improvement areas, and we take at least 2 action items from those retrospective, and that will be targeted to sprint to complete in the next sprint.
Okay. So that's the classical retro, which I think
Yeah.
already used. 90% orgs are stick to the classical retro, where we only talk about what went well, what needs to improve, and what we can be just. Any experience. So sometimes we include an additional area like appreciations or acknowledgement and these things, and then we will say, okay, what action it has been. So that's the basic. 90% of orgs are stick to that. Why we are saying we should try a different kind of retro techniques on time to time, because each retrospective will give you a different kind of a perspective, and when you are trying to discuss in a different way in retrospective, you also think from a different angles. That's what we will try to understand during these 5 different kind of retrospectives, because you all will play as a team member role, and then let's see how you think. So we will go accordingly. Okay. We will start with the first one, which will be, we can finish quickly in 5 to 10 minutes, because it's very quick classical retro, which we all aware of. So this is the first one we have. Let me quickly share my screen. Okay, this is what we are calling as a classical retro, where we have 3, 4, 2. It's not mandatory to always have 4 sections. Sometimes it only have 2, sometimes only have 3, 4, whatever they want to do it. But what is the goal of the classical retro is to just focus in the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks, whatever durations we have, what is the experience of the team? So what is the good experience they had in the last 2 weeks, which they really want to share with the team? What are the bad experience they had, which they also want to discuss so that they can also create some action items to just avoid these kind of bad experience in the future. And then any new innovative ideas if they have, which they tried or they really want to try, they can also put it under this section, and then we can also discuss. We will see if we can make some action items on these things, right? And then we will create, we will try to work on these action items in our upcoming sprints. Now, the best time, the first question which comes in the when we will do the retrospective. Someone says we should do in the middle of the sprint. Why we will doing at the end of the sprint? Someone directly relate retrospective as a feedback, and they says we should not wait for a specific day. We should give the feedback whenever we just realize this is the need, and we should share the feedback. So feedback is one of the part of the retrospectives. That's not the only goal we have, and that's why, and the benefits why we are sticking to a common fixed timeline is when we are finishing something and when we're starting afresh. Before that, there is a time when we can just invest, when we can analyze what we did in the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks, depending on the sprint durations, and then what we learned from those things and how we can improve. So that's the main goal of the retrospective. Now what we will do. We all are playing a role. We all are let's take an example of a team. We all are part of a team, of a development team, where we build an e-commerce website. We delivered, like, suppose 50% of work of that sprint. Okay, we all working in 2 weeks of sprint. We delivered 50% of that sprint, and two of our developers, they also not happy with the collaboration with the team. So these are the issues we have. Now you all are playing a role. It's completely open. If you really want to fill this board as a developer, as a QA, as a designer, or as a product owner, you can do that. Let's spend next 2 minutes to just add at least 2 stickies on this board. You are free to write in any sections, but try to write at least total 2 stickies. Okay, you can choose 2 areas and do that. And don't write anything in actions. You have to only write in what was good, what was bad, and if you have any ideas. Now you know the scenarios. Let's spend 2 minutes, choose 2 stickies, 2 different sections, and add it. And then we will discuss, and then we'll create an action. Okay, your 2 minutes starts now. I will stop sharing.
So, Chetan, that's a generic one, right? Or the one which you mentioned?
The classical retro, the what was good, what was bad.
No, that's fine. You were telling something
The
about
scenario, yeah. So you are the part of an e-commerce team,
okay,
where we deliver 50% of our sprint work, and there are 2 team members who are not happy with their contributions. So you can just choose any 2 stickies, and then you just write down in any of those. You know the main outcome of the sprint. Now you can just quickly fill any 2 stickies, and then we will discuss. And every time, like this time, I will drive this. Next time, someone else, any one of you can nominate, and you can drive this retro. And then the third retro, the other person will drive. So this way, we also get an exposure of driving the retrospective. That's also an important part.
No, what about that? You said 2 people were not happy with the feedback.
Yeah, they are not happy with the contribution, contribution of the team members.
Okay.
It could be because of the lack of communication. It could be because of unclarity of the requirements. Whatever reasons you can identify. Okay, last 1 minute. Okay. Done. Okay, we have to discuss total 5 different retrospectives. So let's quickly start this. Okay, whatever you write, it's fine. Let's stop here and then we will quickly do a discussion. Let me again present this. Okay. So now, which section you want to discuss first? You want to start with the good or you want to end with the good? The discussion.
End with good.
End with good. Okay, then let's start with what was bad. Then we will discuss if there we have any ideas, and then we'll go to the end. We are ending with the good part. Okay. So we had a first sticky third party story get what I mean, who wrote this can just summarize. Didn't get on time. There's the story didn't delivered on time. That's one of the as we said, 50% is not done. Yeah. So can whoever wrote this can help elaborate this what it is?
Yeah, basically, so what's happening is like any story, it's like where we have a dependency with third party. So it's like because no one has a control on it, because even client doesn't have a control on it. It's a third party vendor, and it's like they commit like on a particular date, but that doesn't happen, and it's like they normally give it at the end of the sprint, or even sometimes it doesn't come in that sprint as well.
Okay. Anyone else have any thoughts on this particular dependency? So we have a dependency on third party support. It could be anything. It could be a third party tool. It could be a third party APIs or access. Or any suggestions anyone have how we can control these third party dependencies? Okay. So when you're driving or facilitating these kind of a retrospective, this is more important to involve as much as team member you can, right? It's not like that, okay, one person shared the problem and then the facilitator tried to give the solutions on each and every. The facilitator is only to identify the gaps and then encourage the team to just share the thoughts. Okay, now we know the problem. This is the problem. We have a dependency on third-party APIs or third-party tools. Now, if any one of you have any experience in the past with similar kind of thing, if you want to share how we can encounter, how we can solve these kind of dependencies, so you can just speak up and you can share. Okay, we also had the similar thing in the past, and that's the one. Yeah, I know. I can share. It might help the team. So these kind of contributions are really important. So when the facilitator is trying to discuss that particular problem, let's see how we can. Anyone can have any suggestions or any experience in the past which you want to share, like how we can encounter or solve these kind of problems?
Yeah, so like if we are dependent on third party, we can mock the third party APIs and we can test, or without depending on, we can mock their responses and using any different tool, and we can use it so that we are not totally dependent on third party. Once the integration is available, so we can do a one round of test with their APIs. But meanwhile, we can develop asking the contract like what could be the response from that third party API, so we can mock it and use it.
So you're saying we can continue our development, but the integration will be not the part of these particular story until unless the third party APIs are not ready.
Right, we can ask like expected response from their APIs, and we can directly mock them, and we can see like how our application is basically behaving in that way.
Okay. So we can make an action item for this, like mock the third party API responses. third-party API APIs and continue the development. Okay, this is one of the action item which we will do, and then we will say keep integration out of scope. And then when we have a separate integration stories, at that time we will make sure when we are planning those kind of stories, it's very important during the refinement we'll discuss, is the third-party API is ready? If says no, third-party API is not ready yet, when it will be ready? It will be ready by another 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Then let's do one thing. Let's not take that particular story into the sprint until that third-party API is not completely done. And the moment the third-party API is done, then in the upcoming sprint, we will try to commit that integration story. So that's how we can solve these kind of dependencies. Okay, let's go to the next bad experience. Teamwork exceeds story point in 2 tasks. Okay, what it is? Can anyone elaborate?
Yeah, Chetan. So I wrote it. I meant like for a task, it's supposed to be finished in two story point, but it exceed the time.
Okay. Any specific reason for that, or is it like an every time kind of a behavior?
You can say like a kind of the third party, but there are some time when we are waiting for some like answer. Say I was holding because one of my bug, it needs some data from some debugger, say, or developer, but he responded late. So in that case, what will happen? This story point, it exceeded time. Say it's supposed to finish in 2 days, it took like 3 or 4 days.
Is it because of is it happening only with the one stories, or it's like most of the stories have the same?
No, mostly it won't happen, but there are cases that
Okay.
This will happen.
Okay, but so this is not the case for each and every kind of a work. For a specific stories, we are facing these kind of
Yes, but again, like it's not very frequent, but it happens. Like if it is not in one time, like maybe in like second or third sprint, it will happen.
So how we can avoid these kind of things? Any suggestions? Should we again revisit our benchmark stories?
So what I used to do, say what I used to do is like we used to keep this in hold for some time, like unless so that story point, I don't know like how to say, but we used to keep this such type of task in hold.
Okay. Anyone else?
I can give you one example, like when it happened. Okay, say I was working in one Intel motherboard issue. Okay, and it was related to graphics card and graphics card from NVIDIA. Okay, so I was waiting for some reply from NVIDIA side, but I had this P3 priority for this task. So since it has P3 priority, I have like 3 days of time or 4 days of time, but it didn't happen because I didn't get a reply from this NVIDIA. So what I used to do, we used to keep this such type of task in hold. There was something called hold, or like, yeah, it is there in Jira somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, we can create this.
So we used to keep this type of task
is
in hold.
I mean, is this the best practice to handle these kind of scenarios? Like for each and every can be put on hold for these kind of stories?
Because because we used to have OEM things a lot, like Dell, Microsoft. So you cannot say like this time, like every time this OEMs, it depends on the OEM. If they are available, say Microsoft, their response was not very easy. They always take their time. Okay, so in that case, like we used to keep in hold. But
so we can deprioritize these kind of things, right? Where instead of keep working on these kind of stories where we know it takes more time, we can deprioritize, and instead of that we can take something else, right? So that's the way I think we can do it. Okay. Now let's, I mean, yeah, it's a good suggestion. When we have these kind of dependencies, like let's suppose we start working on something, and then we realize there is third party dependencies, and
this is again related
we need
to
a third party support. So there's two ways: is continuously reach out to that, or just keep waiting for the response from the third party vendors, or we can just quickly align with our product owners and we can say, okay, this particular task is having a dependency and we can't proceed until we are not getting the reply or response from the third party vendors. So instead of that, can we pull something else in the sprint so that at least we can work on something?
Yeah.
So these kind of proactiveness is very important from every team members. And when we are creating action items, these action items is not only for these kind of stories. These are the very generic action items. So when we have these kind of situations in the future, where we start working on something and we are not getting the response, so the best important part is just highlight the dependencies with your team. The common mistake which generally we are doing is, as a developer, I am working on something, and I know I'm on the day 2. Yesterday, I sent an email to the Microsoft for the support, and they usually take 2 to 3 days. Now, the best way is just wait for the reply, and for the next 3 days, just share the same thing with the team. Okay, I'm waiting for the Microsoft response. Day 2, I'm waiting for the Microsoft response. Day 3, I'm waiting for the Microsoft response. This is not the productive way of working. How we can do it? Yes, I'm waiting for this particular story. I'm waiting for the response from the Microsoft. I already reached out multiple times, and I also included my product owners or a respective representative. So each organization has a representative for these kind of third-party vendors. If you're expecting a response in 24 hours, and if you're not getting any response, don't wait. Try to just reach out the concerned team member, Scrum Masters, product owner, or if you know from your organization who is the right person who can directly connect with the Microsoft, if that person can help. So these kind of actions is really important. That's to solve that particular task. So the second approach is, I am stuck. I can't proceed until I'm not getting third-party response. Okay, I will put this task on hold and I'm picking something else, which might have a lower priority, but because I don't have anything else, so I'm working on this. The moment I'm getting the response, I will switch back. These kind of a proactiveness is required. We can't create an action item or a kind of a working rule. Okay, if you're not getting this, the next moment you should switch. It's not possible as well to just switch the context from one story to another story, because when we are human beings. When we are thinking to solve one problem, and the moment we stuck, then we will say, okay, just put that thing on hold and start working on something else. We have to again rethink. We have to again analyze the new story, new work, and that also takes time. And most of the time, we are not considering that time. That's also important part. So when we are switching context in multiple stories, that's also kind of a waste of time, and that's why we are trying to keep as minimum as work in progress to task. That's where the WIP limit is playing a very crucial role. Some of the team members, where they are working like 3 stories and 4 stories in parallel, they will say, okay, I'm blocked in the first, it's fine, I will switch back to second. Okay, I'm blocked on this as well, I will switch back on third. When they are working on 4 or 5 multiple stories at the same time, 80% scenarios, they are only able to deliver 1 or 2 or less than 50% end of the sprint. The reason, because they are in their mind, they're only thinking about, okay, they all are 2 to 2 story points. So total is 8 story points. I have a capacity of 8 in the sprint. I'm delivering, I can do that. But they are not calculating the time which they are wasting for switching the context. So to switching the context from one task to second task, then second to third, and then third to fourth, then again fourth to 1 and 1 to 2, that switching the context is also takes time. You have to rethink the process. You have to reanalyze, okay, what I have to do in this particular task. Okay, whom I need to coordinate, who will be doing the testing, what is the acceptance criteria for this new task. All these analysis is also crucial and taking time. So we also have to be more careful when we are switching the context from one task to another task. That's why we are saying each team have a WIP limit. And generally, if you have like a 5 team members team, so your WIP limit is like 7 or 8. Like 1 or 2 tasks we can keep as an exception, like we have a dependency or we are waiting for something, we can do that. Yeah, Megha?
Yeah, so I face this scenario
Mhm.
to like multiple switching is happening, like and what people are saying, like especially my manager was saying to me, like being in this role, you have to deliver multiple things and you have to do parallel things in parallel. So how to handle that situation? Because if when someone is saying like I am being a QA, I have pushed my code. I'm waiting for the Jenkins results. Like when my complete automation suite is completed, so they say like, meanwhile it is going on. It will take another 30 minutes or 45 minutes. You can switch to another work and you can complete it, then come back to it and analyze it. So this is how they are doing, and I don't know like how to say to what to say to them, their expectation is like you are a senior member, you can handle multiple things at a one time, so you can do that and you should do it. I don't know whether it is a correct thing. What are they expecting is right or not, I'm not sure.
Yeah. See, there's no, I mean, there's no, it depends on each individual, right? What we are trying to do is we are saying switching on the multiple tasks is really wasting your focus areas, and it needs more time to switch back. But suppose if you are working only on two things and one thing, it's almost done, and it's now its own deployment phase. Anyway, I have to switch back to the second one. We can do that. But if you're saying the task one, it's only 50% complete. Now you are waiting for the Jenkins pipeline deployment, and it takes 30 minutes. So if you're switching back on the task two, and after 30 minutes, you have to again switch back to the task one, then it will definitely not help. Because if you are switching back from task one to task two, the next 20 minutes to 30 minutes, it needs to understand and realize, okay, what I have to do in this new task. And the moment you figure out, okay, now I know what I have to do in this task two, your task one deployment is done. Now I will say, okay, it's done. Let me switch back to the task one. Now, if we are switching back to the task one, but your mind is still thinking about the scenarios of the task two. So again, you need another 10 minutes to switch back and analyze the task one acceptance criteria, what you complete in the 50%, what is left, from where you can continue. So if you're having only small windows of like 30 minutes and 40 minutes, and then you're switching, I will suggest don't do those kind of things. Instead of that, take a 15 minutes of a break and go and relax. That will be help to start, and because those are the productive breaks. If you're taking 10 minutes break, what you can do, what else you can do, you can just during those 10 and 15 minutes, instead of working on any specific stories, if there is any kind of a discussion you really need to do that in any other team members related to any new work, future work and something, just try to do an 10 minutes discussion, just see if that team member is available. Because those things you can make a note, okay, I had a discussion and now these are the three things I have to do. So once I finish my task one, then I can prioritize. So those kind of things you can do that, but try to avoid these like small break and context switching. That will not happen. And if still your manager wants to do that, then you can say, okay, that's not my way of working style. I will be give a shorty, I will be productive. But if I'm doing like a 10 minutes or 30 minutes of the context switching, that's really not helpful for me. And this each individual's different work style. I'm not saying what I am saying is really applicable to all of you. Might be three of you are agreeing on this and two of you not agree with this. That's absolutely fine, right? So that also depends on each individual's work style.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, now we will discuss the last one. Yep.
This is one, it's practical what's happening now. So the thing is like, see, third party, okay, if someone has a control on it, it's fine. Doing follow up, checking with every alternate days, that's all okay. But now the thing is like, PO doesn't have a control on the third party. Even the client, it's like for client, it's a third party. So now what's happening is like they commit, they say like, okay, in the mid of the sprint, we would be giving the change, right? So what happens is sometimes we do get whatever they say, but most of the time it's like it keeps, what they do is either they give it 1 day or 2 days before the end of sprint, and you have stories like 1 to 2 stories which are almost 5 story points practically, where you can't finish within those 2 days or 1 day, right? So obviously that becomes a challenge. So how would you handle it? Either you take it as a stretch, that is that's the only option, or you just add it uh, whenever you don't commit. Mock and all, okay, only if it is possible, then you create a mock and then, but even if that is not possible, then it becomes
Sorry, Vinayak. I had some internet issues, so
ah,
my Zoom is restarted.
okay, no
Yeah.
issues.
So
Yeah,
now I'm back. But I heard your few first
no,
conversation.
I'll repeat it again. So now what's happening is, in case if the third party is under some control, like where you keep doing follow-ups, you get a response, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, what's happening is it's a third party for even for client, that
Mhm.
is in US,
Mm-hmm.
and PO doesn't have a control, even the client doesn't have a control.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they commit, they say like, okay, in the middle of the sprint we would be giving it, they say, but due to XYZ reason, they say like, okay, it's like it's delayed by 4 days, so we will give either 1 or 2 days before the sprint ends, right?
Mm-hmm.
Though even you are getting it, but if you have a story of 5 story point, practically you can't complete within that, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So how would you handle this kind of things? It's like either you take it as stretch, such stories.
I mean, that's the only solution you have, right? So suppose if the particular story needs a 5 story point of effort, and you couldn't work on the initial 7 days because of the third party dependencies, and now only 3 days left. So that should be acceptable to everyone. Like
Huh?
where is the issue? Like still, if your product owner thinking still we can deliver within the sprint,
No.
that's
That is fine. See,
Mhm.
in the retro, okay, we do mention because it was given last. That's all fine.
Mhm.
But how do you tackle this kind of stories? What, you take it as stretch, or you add it in between, or how is it?
No, I mean we will keep that story in the sprint. Okay.
Mhm.
And the moment we are closing the sprint, if suppose the story is only 50% done, we will not say we will take the credit of the 50%. We will only get the credit once the end-to-end is done, right? So we will
Yes.
start at 5 story points, and whole
Mm.
5 story point will be going into the next sprint. The
Huh.
reason why we are spilling all the five, you might finish the 3 story point of effort. Might
Yeah.
be only 2 story point of effort is left, but
Mm.
still your whole 5 story point is going into the next sprint. Now, why we are doing this? Because the business will only get the credit once you are delivering that story, and you are delivering that story next sprint,
Yes.
right? So there is no point you are saying, okay, 3 story point work is done. We will take the credit of the 3 story point work. Now 2 story point is left. Let's re-estimate this as a 2, and then we will do it. It will not work. Might be for you, it's only 2 story point left. For the end user, for the customers, for the business who are really expecting that story to be done, for them, it's a zero value, right? Because you're not, that story is not delivered.
Yeah, that is there. That
So
is
the
fine.
whole 5 story point will going into next sprint.
Yeah, that is fine. That is going anyway. We have no other option.
Mm-hmm.
But what would be the action item? It's like, because you don't have control itself, right?
Yeah, see, that's fine. So sometimes in some scenarios, it not necessary you will have any concrete action items to do that. Now, these kind of scenarios where you have some third-party dependencies, what Mega suggests, you can just try to avoid if it's possible, so that you can at least continue your work, and then only the integration part is left. But still, if you have completely dependencies, even you can't do the mock part, then you can't make any action items. Then you have to adopt these kind of things. That's the one thing. Now, what is the second action item is? When we are doing our refinement, during refinement, we should identify these gaps, right? We will say, okay, for this particular story, we might have a risk. Now, what is the risk? The risk is we might need some third-party support. You highlight that risk during the refinement, before the sprint commitment, and you will tell your product owner, we are taking this story, but there are chances we will not complete. The reason because we had the similar experience in the past where we have a third-party dependencies and we are not getting response on time. So we will try to deliver the story in the sprint if we get a timely support. If we didn't get, then we'll going. So you are raising the risk at the first place. Now it's a product owner's call to still take that, to commit that, or let's do one thing, let's park this particular work in the next sprint. I will try to be coordinate with this third party and I will make sure the dependency will resolve before we start working on the story. So this is completely the product owner's call to just commit that work or not, right? According to the prior.
Yeah. So normally what I do is like, in case they give a particular date, okay, if it comes on that date, okay, no issues, we go ahead with that. But in case if there is delay more than 2 to 3 days, and if it is more practical whether to take that story on that particular day and finish it, then only we take it. Otherwise, what I do is I just reprioritize the story, take the other story and move this to be on safer side. It's like, so that you at least
see, there is no concrete solutions. What we will do is we will take the solutions according to what is best suitable for that particular situation, or what is best suitable for your team. So according to your team, according to your current situations, we are taking the decision, right? Okay, let's move to next. We are already I mean 45 minutes finish our meeting time. So these are the three what was bad part we already discussed. We also take the action items for that. Now let's move to the ideas. What innovative ideas we have? Okay, so this is one stick is training can be scheduled. This is one of the idea. Who wrote this? Can you elaborate?
Yeah, I wrote it, and the innovation idea I put in context of like what are the bad points, like lack of knowledge on new technologies. So that's why we have as a situation, that's why we are not able to complete 100% of the commitment. So to avoid that and mitigate, like we can have internal trainings or we can have like external training scheduled, so that next time the commitment can be reached by 100%.
Yeah. So what kind of action items we can create for these kind of ideas?
Yeah, either like some kind of internal or external training. We can ask a manager to find out, or someone so that we can schedule it. I think.
So yeah. So and the another important part here is when we are creating action items, make sure your action items is concrete and it's doable. Doable means it should not like that. Okay, we are lacking in the technical part and we need trainings. No, this is not an action item. What is action item is we are lacking in back end in Java trainings on payment related modules, and we need trainings. So we have to specify the gap where we have the gap. So now the gap is in the Java. In the Java, when we are doing the payment modules integrations, none of our team members have the knowledge. So now let's create an action items where the action items look like this. Java trainings on payment module integration. Now this is very concrete action item. Now we know what we have to do it. And then we will also assign who will take the ownership of this. So I will say, you will say, okay, for next step is whoever is the Scrum Master. So Scrum Master will, the Scrum Master will just assign, okay, Scrum Master will take the action item. Now, this is Scrum Master's responsibility to coordinate whoever is the concerned team. If in the organizations we have a specific training department, training team, or anyone in the leadership who will give the approvals, or it's some kind of like an online trainings like on LinkedIn or something, or is someone within the organization who already worked on these kind of modules. Whatever is the next step is, now we assign and we know what we need. And now Scrum Master will take this as one of the action item and the next sprint, and we will see how quickly we can do. So when we are discussing these kind of stickies, where we'll say, okay, training can be scheduled, we will be try to be more crisp. What is the particular item? Okay. Next idea we have moving task to one who already worked on similar issues.
Yeah. So I wrote it.
You're on mute. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So I could not draft it properly, but I meant is like if somebody is stuck in some point, so we should discuss in the point like how he resolved the issue. Okay. So we should talk in that, so that if somebody like started a new task, similar task, so his work will be easy.
Yeah. So that's basically the coordination, right? Now, what is the best time where we should do these coordinations?
Like retro only we can discuss, you can say.
No, but if you're doing the retro, then you're already late, right? You already spilled the work. You already. How we can avoid these kind of situations? What's the best time to align, to identify who is the best person who worked on these kind of stories, who can pick this work, or who can assist?
No,
During planning.
Chetan, I didn't mean that the guy who already worked, he again should do this. I mean like he know the way how to.
Whatever is it, it's that person can assist, that person can help, can guide.
Yeah.
When we identify this gap.
Identify
during the planning
meetings, Scrum meetings only we can first of all like come
it's
up.
A weak answer, right? Scrum meeting. Which Scrum meeting I'm asking?
Yeah.
Planning.
If you're doing in the planning
is
then we also
yeah, sorry, that will be
during refinement, when we're refining the stories.
During refinement, when we are doing, when we are estimating, at that time we should identify these gaps. Now we know we have a sprint planning after a week. We are doing a sprint refinement a week early or 2 weeks early, right? Now we know the gap. Okay, this is a particular area where most of our team members are not aware. The only one team member worked on these kind of things, and we know we have to work on this particular technology next sprint. Can we, and during the refinement meeting, because we discuss the story, we identify what we need, what we have to develop, what we have to implement. Can we take one action items? Can we arrange one session by the guy who already worked in the past? Can he or she give a session on the same thing, how the rest of the team members can do that? Let's schedule that within the sprint, a 30 minutes or 1 hour session. And then when we are having our next meeting, which is a sprint planning meeting, at that time, because our training is done, the team members also get an idea how they can work on this new set. Now they are more confident to re-estimate the story. Now they know how much time they really need. They can say, we only get a training, but still we feel, because we will be doing first time, it's a risky part. So instead of 3, we want to take it 5. That's the one thing we can do that. Second thing is, we got the training, but still we feel we need some support from this guy who already worked. So make sure this guy is having sufficient bandwidth in the next sprint so that he or she can support the new team member who's going to work. So when we are planning the work for that that guy who already worked, make sure we have he or she have sufficient bandwidth to support the team members. So these kind of actions, there is a specific time where we can do that. Identifying the gaps, making a plan during refinement, capacity, like to check the capacity, analyze, balance the workload, plan these things. Those are the sprint plans. and to identify the gap from the past experience. That's a retrospective. We tried, but still we failed. We tried this thing. We already get the training. We already get a support, but still we couldn't deliver the story. Now, where we lack, let's discuss in the retrospective so that we can improve in the upcoming sprints. If the similar scenario happen, we will try to take a different approach. So that's an important part. We can't say, okay, it's a Scrum ceremonies. We should aware of what is in which Scrum ceremonies, what part we should discuss. Okay. So these are the things we discussed. The bad part, we discussed the ideas, we created some action items as well. Now let's end with some good thoughts. What the good experience we have. Team achieved the sprint goal. Okay. Someone wrote this. But how we can achieve the sprint goal? When I said, when I give the scenario, I said we only delivered 50% of our sprint work. But still, you feel team achieved the sprint goal. Is this possible?
No, that I
Not possible.
Before listening to your this one, I was just trying whether I'm able to.
Okay, so definitely we can't. If you're creating a sprint goal, you might be partially achieved. You might say, okay, we have a 3 sprint goal, and because you only finished 50%, you achieved one of the goal. But that's not the only thing, right? Your sprint goal is to achieve these three items. So our sprint goal is not achieved. So even if you're completing 80%, you can't say, okay, our sprint goal is achieved until unless you're not delivering 100%, or at least at certain level, whatever goals you made, all those goals are delivered. Then we can say, okay, it's done. It's fine. Or we can see in what was good sections, we can also, and that's generally we are lacking. We can also encourage our team members to just add if you get any kind of a support. So what are the things we can add in the good part? Okay. As a developer, last time I encountered a completely new work, and this ex team member really helped me, and because of his or her support, I delivered it. So when you are giving these kind of feedbacks, right, it gives it increase the team morale. That the person who's you're recognizing, okay, because of his or her support, I delivered this. So that person will also feel some kind of a contribution, okay, because of at least they recognizing what support I provide. So you will get these kind of a continuous support in the future as well. So when you are thinking about, okay, what was good part, what we can add, it's not only about what is going good from a team perspective and from a sprint perspective. In your personal experience, when I say the personal, your individual professional experience, what you had in the last 2 weeks, any kind of a support, any kind of a like guidance from any senior team member, any kind of a like discussions with the business, which you also had first time. So these kind of things you can also highlight in what was good, so that when you are highlighting those things, we can try to repeat these kind of things. So that's the main agenda. Don't stick only on this thing. Okay, if we achieve the sprint goal, if we finish what we finished, and don't try to highlight the individual's performance. Generally, people of what they are also mentioning in what was good is, okay, I took 3 stories or 3 tasks, I finish all 3 tasks. That should not be in the what was good. Why? Because your team is only delivered 50%. Still 50% is not delivered. So if your team is unable to deliver, and where you are highlighting, okay, I took 3 stories and I delivered all 3 stories, it's not going in a positive way. So try to avoid these kind of like self accomplishment, which we should not highlight in these kind of meetings. Try to encourage, try to highlight the support which you get from your team. That should be. So these are the things what we discuss in the classical retro, and that's how we will do it. 80% of us are doing this classical retro. Now we will move to the next retro. Anyone have any queries on this? We still have 30 minutes. We will try to at least finish 3 more. Okay. Now let's move to next, which is 4L retro. Now, what is difference between the 4L and the classical? The difference is the mindset, how we are asking the questions. See, the important part in the retrospective is, and it's for all you guys as a facilitator, to just ask the right questions. Not every time, but most of the time, if you realize, you will only get like 20% team members involvement in these kind of ceremonies. Your 80% team members are sitting idle. They might just write down a stickies, and even they are not discussing those stickies. So as a facilitator, this is very important for us to just try to involve as much as you can your team members, right? To just ask them the right questions, to just ask them their experience in the last 2 weeks, and then let's encourage them to just participate as much as possible. So that's why this is the another retrospective which generally we are using. Now the purpose of this is what us thinks. Still, in this one, we are saying, okay, good, what bad, and action items. And this one, it's moreover as an individual, what you like. So this one we are doing as a team. This one we are just giving a feedback. It's just kind of a feedback as an individual, how I feel in the last 2 weeks, what I like, what I'm lacking in terms of the technology, in terms of the coordinations, and what I learned in the last 2 weeks. So highlight those learnings what you have, so that we can also focus on those areas when we are working on the future. And if there is something which you really want to park on this area long for XYZ reasons or something. So these are the 4 L's we have. Now still, we are trying to identify the gaps, but the only difference is this one, we are thinking as a team, this one we are thinking as an individual, how I can contribute. We are saying agile team, we are working as a team, but it's a contribution of each team members. So how these team members are involved, we can just bring these. Next time we can only do this 4L retrospective and ask each and everyone, okay, please write down stickies, 1 stickies in each section. They will definitely like something, right, in last 2 weeks. They definitely lacking in some of the areas which they identify. Or if not the individuals, if as a team we are lacking, can also put down, okay, as a team we are lacking in this particular technology or this particular communication. One of the example where is we have a release in every week, okay, and we have a specific release manager, and when the release manager is trying to coordinate with the team members, the individual team members are not responding to the release manager. We are lacking in the communication. So how we can highlight those things? Yeah, Megha?
Yeah, so my question is, can we do this retro with the like in the normal retro, or this should be done independently?
No. We should do it in the common team retro as well.
Okay,
That's
and
yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
So the only thing is, like suppose you are doing this classical retro for last 3 sprints, and now just break the ice. Let's in the 4th time, let's do this one. And what you will observe when you are doing this for the last 3 sprint, you will get a very good feedback in first time. Second time, you will get some less feedback. Third time, you might get only 30% feedbacks, or people are not interested. The reason, because it's a repetitive for them. They're saying, okay, every 2 weeks we are connecting and we are just giving the feedback, but then there's nothing happened or no one taking action steps. So those kind of people are just making assumptions. To just break the ice, we can do 2 times this retro, and then again next time we can do this, and then after 1 sprint or 2 sprint we can do the other one. So to just give each and individual to think in different way when they are putting these stickies. So that's the main goal we have. I hope it answers your question.
Yeah, it answers, but like how to manage, like let's say someone say like, I am lacking in this, I want to learn this. So will there be any action item on the organization?
Yes.
And they should work on it, because it is not helpful for the organization, but for the individual career growth it will be helpful. So my managers will not be that much like they don't want to do that, maybe. So how to convince them?
that's the I think the wrong assumptions of the managers generally have. If any of your team members is learning something new, definitely that new learning will somehow is beneficiary for the organization. Until or unless they are learning out of scope. Like you're working on an IT world and your team members is learning something to cryptocurrencies, right? Or let's say about a new sports. That could be one of the reasons which that will not help. But if they are saying, okay, I'm lacking in a particular technology, I'm a front end guy, I want to learn the back end, but sometimes I feel I'm lacking and I want to learn that. Let's give them the opportunity to learn something in the back end, and in the future, that same team member can be worked as a full stack. He or she can contribute. But if that person says, I'm lacking in basketball game, which I'm doing at my personal interest, definitely that's out of context topic, right? We can't make an action for that.
Yeah, I understood that point, but if that so from what is the outcome from that? The actions are defined, like if someone wants to learn the back end, but there should be some space given within the sprint time as well, or it should be always like putting the extra effort to learn something new.
See, that's completely depend on the organizations, how organizations are investing in each in their employees. So let's take an example of, I'm taking example of my organizations where if I'm saying, okay, I want to learn a new technology and I want 20% of time. If possible, within my engagements with the client, if it's possible, they will definitely encourage. Otherwise, they will say, okay, these are the tutorials or like online platforms. Whenever you get time, you can do that. But you are free to do that either in the working hours or extra times. That depends on the flexibility, how the individuals is working or how the organizations are really supporting. So I can't say, okay, they should be always out of the working hours. That can be done within the working hours as well. If you have internal trainings and something like what we have internal trainings in my organizations. We have a program of servant leadership where we are giving servant leadership trainings. And whoever is really interested, they can enroll in that training, and that's a 2 days full day training. No matter if they're working in the sprint, they can just mention to their managers, okay, I'm going for the 2 days servant leadership trainings, and they can just attend that the full day training. But they can only do that because that organization culture is the organization allowing. So that's also depend on each individual organization.
Yeah, but usually, till my experience, what I face now, like whatever the capacity, like in the sprint planning, we go with the like how many story points a person can take based on the velocity. So they don't even give a breathing space like that. And I don't know how, because I haven't
I will
been.
tell you how we can solve these kind of things. First of all, we have to identify what is the main training it is. Is this training really going to help this particular team or this particular program? Yes, this is related to this program and this is definitely helps. So then what we can do is we can say, okay, I'm also learning this new technology and I can take, like I'm taking like suppose 10 days of work. I can only take 9 days of work because one day I am partially working on this learning of new technology. And because everyone in the team aware of this is why you are learning, because this will definitely benefit to the team and to the scores. Then that is justifiable. You can justify that part. But if something you are working as a QA in the particular project, you want to become a designer, but you are learning something which is definitely helpful for you, but not helpful for this particular project and program, then it's hard. It's hard to just create some space for you, right? Why you're doing? Because you really want to learn something in your personal interest. You're not doing because of the benefit of this current program or project. So these kind of trainings and the learnings definitely you have to do outside your working hours. So that's how you can segregate. And even you will not get the support of the organizations. 80% you will not get the support of the organizations where you really want to learn something out of the books, which is not helpful for your current project.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the important part of this 4L retro. Any queries on this 4L retro? We'll not drive this because we're only 25 minutes left. So let's see if we can cover more. But it's pretty much similar to what we executing the classical.
What is that last one, Chetan?
I mean, this is you can loan for if you have something which you really want to park for the long term, for the future and something,
Okay.
or any activities which you really want to do it, but that's not on the priority one.
Okay.
So you can do that. Yeah.
All right.
I had a doubt.
Yes.
So how often do you recommend that we switch between different styles of retro?
That depends on each team members, how they are contributing. If we are doing every sprint a different retrospective, that's also fine.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
tried
that's
to
also
do.
fine. You can do
No.
that.
Okay.
Like suppose we have, if you're working on 2 weeks of sprint, that means every month you have 2 retros. Every quarter you have 6 sprints, so 6 retros.
Yeah.
You can do 6 different retros in a quarter, and then you will only repeat the same retro in next quarter.
Yeah.
That's also fine.
Okay.
What we have to understand when we are bringing in a new style of retrospective, is it really beneficial for the particular squad, for particular team? Okay, I tried 4L last time and I get a very decent response. So I will definitely repeat that. I tried 4L last time and team members, they are not proactive. They didn't like this format.
I'll never bring it again. Yeah.
Yeah. I will just skip that from my style of retrospectives, which I'm doing. So this is learning what we have. I'm not saying 4L is best suitable for you or classical is best suitable for you. You have to identify what retrospective is best suitable, where you get maximum outputs or contributions from the team member. If you will say, I tried all 5, and whenever I'm doing classical one, I'm getting more responses. But in other retrospectives, team members definitely like, but they are not contributing that much. So then what I will do? In that case, we will do like 70% retrospective in the classical, and after every 2 sprints or every 3 sprints, we will bring a new different kind of step. So we have to identify how this new experiment is going with the team. Are they really liking this or not? We can't think, or we can't only observe how you feel or how you observe, how your team observes. That's important. Now, how you can do that? The easiest way is at the end of the retro, you can just quickly raise a poll. Okay, can you just quickly give the feedback on the retro? So at the end of the retrospective, we are taking 2 levels of feedback. The first feedback is how you feel about the sprint. So individual gives, okay, this according to me, it's 3 out of 5, it's 4 out of 5, or 5 out of 5. So you will collect the feedback of individuals for last 2 weeks of performance. Same time, you can also bring a new poll where you say, okay, can you just give a feedback about the retro style? And then you will say, okay, people says, okay, I like this retro style, and you will get 80% are giving you 4 out of 5. So once you get those feedback, accordingly, you will say, okay, the retro where you get very less feedback, we will try to minimize that part. And the retro where we get maximum feedback, we will just repeat those kind of things as much as possible.
Yeah, makes sense. I think for now, my team is good enough. They let me know if they like it or not. So.
Yes. Then we have the next one, the start, stop, and continue. Now, how is it different from the previous 2? Can anyone say what is different? Any difference in start, stop, continue?
We don't have any action here.
I mean, we can create, see, action items we can create in any of the retrospectives. The only thing is, like here, we have a separate section of actions. Here we don't have a separate section, but if you want, you can create a 5th section of action items, or you can note down outside of the. So that's not the main difference. What is the other difference here is? When we should bring this start, stop, and continue. Okay, you're doing the same retrospective. You're doing the classical retrospective. Let's take an example. and every time you're getting the same similar kind of feedback, and your team members are, and you feel from the last 3 months there is no improvement in the team. How we can do that? Let's now this time I will drive the start, stop, continue, and when I will drive this retro, I will ask different questions. Okay, guys, for the last 3 months, we are doing a different. We are doing a classical retro. Let's this time we will do a different. Now, when you are writing down these techniques, just think what are the areas or what are the items you really want to start. You really want to implement any new suggestions in this current project. What you are doing. So this project is like 6 months old and a year. We are doing the same kind of a practice. So if you really want to suggest something, what we should start? That's the first question. Second question, because we are working for the last more than 1 year or 6 months, what is your observations, the areas which is not giving any positive response? So what is your thought? What we should stop immediately? Now, what are the examples? When you are facilitating these kind of retrospective, this is very important when you are asking, when you're giving the examples. Now, what is the example of the stop? Okay, we are doing a 30-minute retrospective. Oh, sorry, 30-minute daily stand-up. Is it really beneficial? Should we reduce that from 30 minutes to 15 minutes? Will that help? You can put it in stop. Or you can say, from the last 6 months, we were doing a 30-minute retrospective. And last time we tried a new change. We did a 15-minute retrospective. Do you really want to continue that? So we are asking team members the feedback. Now these feedbacks are on 4 different areas. The first is about the ceremonies. What are the ceremonies we have? Should we continue the current cycle of the ceremonies? For example, we are doing 2 refinements in every sprint. Should we continue 2? Should we do it on 1 or should we do 3? Should we increase or decrease? We can discuss under continue. Another thing is start doing. We are not doing any previous sprint action items analysis. Every time we are bringing a new model, we are discussing, but we never discuss our previous sprint action items. What's the status? How many are done? How many are closed? How many are in progress? Can we start spending our first 10 minutes of the upcoming retrospectives to just look into our past action items? So you can put that in the start doing. Or similarly, so when you are deriving this, what you are doing is you are asking your team member to just think differently, not in the same way what they are working. Think differently, what we should start, what we should stop, or something which we tried out of the box in the last sprint, and do you really want to continue that? What was that? We get a feedback when we are giving the demo, the sprint review. That's the only ceremonies where we are giving the demo, and most of the time our product owners are not accepting that, and then we have to do a lot of rework. How we can avoid it? Let's do one thing. We have a 15 minutes of daily stand-up. Once we finish the daily stand-up, we can ask our product owner to just stay on the call, and whoever have finished the story, they can demonstrate in their own local machine. That's a new initiative. Can we try this? Now, what benefit we will get? Suppose I'm a developer. I finish in my local machine. Okay. Now I have to follow the process. I finish the change. I will deploy that on in the main branch, then in a local environment, let's suppose dev environment. Then QA will do the test. Then QA will identify the bugs. I will fix that bug. Then it will going into the staging environment. Then it will going into the acceptance environment. At the acceptance environment, our product owners are reviewing those stories, and then they will give the feedback. What change they are expecting. Now, if we are waiting the feedback till acceptance environment, it's like in a 5-day process. How we can improve it? The moment I finish the story in my local machine, before raising merge request or deploying on any environment, within my local system, I will quickly demo in the daily setup. Once everyone finish, I can ask my product owner to just stay for 2 minutes. I will quickly demonstrate, okay, this is the new story. These are the 3 acceptance criteria. See, I implement this. What's your feedback? Can we continue? Can we proceed this? If your product owner have any feedback, they will say, okay, they want any other changes or not. It's easy for you. Now you don't have to follow the process of merging approvals and then deployment, then QA. Because if you're doing these process, and then again, if you're getting the feedback after acceptance criteria, you have to again follow the same process. So you are just saving the time. So these kind of new initiatives, you can just bring it with the team, and then let's team decide where they want to put it, in the continue, the start, in the stop. Okay, so this is not easy to derive this, but when you're deriving, asking right question is very important. Okay, any questions on start, stop, and continue? Okay, then we will move to the next, which is mad, sad, glad. It looks similar to start, stop, continue. There's a mad, sad, glad. Why we are doing this? Any observations, suggestions? When we will do this mad, sad, glad? What is this? Anyone heard about this? Mad, sad, glad?
I have. Is it after we've implemented whatever we've come across from start, stop, continue? It's more like we've implemented those, and then are you mad about it, sad, or you're glad about what you did?
Okay, nice thought. Anyone else? Any other suggestions about mad, sad, glad? I will tell you the best place where we can use these mad, sad, glad. You had a very intense situations where there is some very major production issues occurs. Your team spent the 2 days and they finally resolve that, right? They spend like 10 hours and lot of coordinations, communications. Now they did it. Now you completed the RCA as well. You submit the RCA report as well. Now this is the best time to just ask them to schedule a 30 minutes meeting, set up this format, mad, sad, glad, and ask them what is their experience for that particular situation. Generally, this mad, sad, glad is give you more inputs when you're doing in a specific situations. And this is the one of the specific situations where whenever we have a production issues, we are doing so many communications. There are so many escalations. There are so many coordinations required to just fix that, because that's a critical change, critical issues. Now we resolve everything. It's done. It's deployed on the production. RCA is also done. Now everyone is settled down. Now let's do this mad, sad, glad. Ask their experience during those 2 days of experience. What are the instances where you're really glad? It could be the communication. It could be the support from the architects, from the leadership, from the managers, from the scrum masters. You can put it. What are the moments you really want to celebrate from this intense situation? Now, what are the sad part? Why it took 2 days? Can we do it little early? Why? What are the areas where we really lacking? And it's like anything which you really want to highlight. Okay, if we are doing in a different way, we might resolve it early. But we feel sad because we couldn't do that. And then the reason could be anything. It could be because we are waiting for some kind of approvals, or we only one person having the access to deploy on a specific environments, and that person is not available. That's why it took 2 days. Whatever is it. When we are doing this, we can create a quick action. Okay, if we have a similar kind of situation in the future, how we can avoid these kind of things. Those things can come into the side. What is bad part? when we have these kind of situations, escalation is the one which is happening most of the time. When we have escalations, people are losing their control. They're losing their mind. They start blaming each other's, right? They are saying, okay, it's not a developer's mistake, it's a QA mistake. This is not a QA mistake, this is an PO's mistake. Or this is not a team's mistake, this is a mistake of an integration squad or an DevOps guy. It's very easy to blame these things to someone else. So that part should come into the MAD section. Okay, what is the MAD about the 2 days of situation? So this retro is very situational specific. Either you can do it in these kind of situations, or you can also do it as in a sprint retro. When your sprint is, you observe something different. Something different means these kind of situations. If you identify, and the next retro you can do it the same. Okay, guys, in the last sprint we faced these situations, which is completely. I mean, we observe a couple of people are losing their coolness, and we have a lot of escalations, emails and stuff. So let's do one thing. This time we will do a different retro, and for that particular incident, how you feel, where you want to put your observation, then let's discuss this. These kind of retro is really helping to create a concrete action items if the same situation occurs. So suppose if same situation occurs after 2 months, you can just quickly look into this retro board and you can say, okay, what are the observations of the team members and how we can avoid that situation to repeat. So that's why it's the area where we can do MAD cycle. Anyone? Any thoughts? Or you all are sleeping or still awake?
This is basically only if it is situational based, right? Otherwise, it's. But,
I mean, I'm saying that's the major part where you will get the inputs. Otherwise, if you're doing this MAD set glad as your sprint retro, that also fine. The example is in this sprint, you only deliver 20%. And before that, every time your team is delivering 80-85%. Now your team is really disappointed because they only deliver 20%. So let's try this retro. So when you have a different situation, which is not usual, okay, then we can bring this. It could be a production issue. It could be a bad experience of the particular bad delivery of a sprint, or it could be anything else, like any team members who left the team, but not the team is having a lot of issues, dependencies, because they did not identify those gaps earlier. Now because the team member left, they identify those gaps. So let's try to do this. Okay, what are the things where we what are the areas which we can put into the MAD set part for that? So it depends. So, but yeah, if you're doing in a different kind of situations, you will get more inputs. Okay, then we have the last Sailboat retro. This is an interesting one, which is generally we are doing when we are doing an analysis of like quarterly retro or like an release retro. So when we have these kind of situations, that's the best part where we can do that. During sprint, we can also do that. And when we do it, like suppose you are doing classical one for the last 3 sprint and you are not getting any inputs. Even the action items you are creating, but still you are not identifying the gap. Still your team's performance is not improving. And that's a major goal of the retro, right? To just improve the team's performance. So if your team is not identified through any of these retros, this is the best one we can try as a sprint retro as well. Now what we will do is, there are 4 sections in this Sailboat. The first section is, this is your sprint, the work, what you have. This is the wind. Wind means the support which you get to deliver your sprint stories to your sprint goal. So this island is a sprint goal. So what is the help support you will get? You will mark those things under these green stickies. What are the feel good situations? Feel good means you tried something which is really helpful, which we can continue. You can put it those things here. And these are the risks. Now, it could be a future risk or it could be a current risk as well. Now, what are the risks? We can put it here is, let's suppose in your squad, there is only one team member who knows the integration thing. So this is a future risk. If that person left the team, or if that person is going on a long vacation of 3 weeks or 4 weeks or a month or 2 months, so who will take care of the integration part? So this is a future risk we have. Or we are working on an e-commerce domain and we don't have anyone who worked on the payment part, portal kind of stuff. None of our developers have any experience on the payment kind of part. That's also a future risk we have. So to identify those future risks so that we can make some appropriate actions before it. Let's say you are saying, okay, we are working on an e-commerce project. And after this quarter, next quarter, we are going to work on the payment integration, that part. So let's identify, is anyone on our team worked on that in the past? They said no. It's fine. We still have 3 months. Let's try to see if we can learn within our scope, or should we hire a person who can do the integration for us, or we can borrow someone from the other squad of the organizations who can help. So to just identify those risks as early as possible and make some actions before going into this. So this particular Sailboat Retro is helping. And the fourth part is this anchor. Now, what is the anchor is? The current issues which are blocking us. Now, what are the current issues? There is a long code review process. There are 8 swim lanes in your Jira board, sprint board, which also takes time. So these are the issues which are where the team is having or like time consuming. Or the another thing is, every day we have like 1 hour of daily stand-up. That's also waste of time. Or we have 4 refinement, 4 to 2 hours of refinement. We don't need 4 refinements of 2 hours. That's also waste of time. How we can save the time? Or we are involving whole team in each and every discussion. We don't need. If you are doing something which is if your PO is really want to discuss any specific scenario or story, which is only involved a front-end developer, he or she can only involve that developer and do that, instead of sending an invite to all the team members and then discussing that front-end work. So to identify what are the anchors, what are the current issues which is holding us to just deliver as fast as we can. So to identify those 4 different areas, we can mark that and then we will discuss. And then we will create action items accordingly. The action items for this bottom part is really important. And to highlight these 2 things which is helping us so that we can increase those things. What are the things which is really helpful for team? Another example is, every quarter we are going for a team dinner. After every release, we are going for a team dinner. And that's also, everyone is really feeling good. They are also sharing a lot of stuff in their experience. We should continue this. We did this in the past, but for the last 6 months, we are not doing. Can we do that? That's one of the action items we can make it, which is under comes and feel good, right? So these kind of things we identify and will do that. And these kind of things we can't identify through any of these retros. We can, but team members are not giving the feedback. So that's why we will try this different Sailboat. This is really helpful. When you're not getting any inputs from the team members, try this retrospective, you will definitely get it. Okay. Any questions on these 5 different style of retrospectives? Classical, oral, star stop, mad, set, glad, sailboat. We have 25 more. These are only 5. We have 25 more different types of retrospectives. Those are not that much popular or not helpful, but if you're only knowing these, that's also fine for you. The rest you can just, I will share the link where you can find all these 25 retrospectives, and you can. Okay. Any thoughts? Any last words before we are closing this session? Anyone, if you are still there in the meeting.
This link will be always available. Like
this Miro link, and I'm not sure. because
So,
I can only have 3 my rows. So generally I'm deleting
so
them.
I'll note it down then.
Yeah, you can
I'll take
download
a
this. I
screenshot.
think you can download this as a PDF or something.
Okay. Yeah, we can make it save it as PDF.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Any other queries or any feedback? Last minute feedback about the session?
No, Chetan, but yeah, we have to like try on this. Actually. The Sailboat is like I need to read it actually. I didn't understood properly. I think I need to again revise it. And see
Now
that.
I will share the links where you can just read about all these items and retrospectives.
Okay, Chetan,
Yeah.
that will help.
Yeah, like session is very great. I have never heard about the different type of retrospectives techniques. This is the first time I'm hearing the different one. I just follow the one. I thought like it is the one we have to follow. So thank you for sharing the info.
I will share the link for there are like I think 30, I know 30 plus retrospectives. So I will share the link. You can read about the rest.
Sure, sure.
Okay, then I think we are good. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, in fact, it was
Thanks for this
basically,
lesson.
yeah, it was a very nice in detail discussion. In fact, even if you see today, I think hardly we felt the time because there was a lot of involvement and a lot of people had a lot of questions. So that shows how much interest people had in the topic.
Yeah, thank you. I want to drive this last sailboat like how we did the first one, but because of the time constraint, I couldn't do that. I will see in the future if we will do in the same things. I will try to focus on the sailboat and then I will drive for 30 minutes.
Yeah, I think that would be great because sailboat is something it requires a lot of discussion. In fact,
yeah, we will see after 2 sessions or something. We will try to again do that, and then we will focus the 1 hour for the sailboat and do that. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thanks
Yeah.
for your
Thanks.
for joining this.
Thanks.
Thank
you.
Chetan. Thanks
Thank
a lot.
you.
Thank you. Bye bye.